This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and today, right now, I'm ready to present for you yesterday's latest in information, politics, events, and pop culture. This is your go-to supplemental source for both mainstream and unconventional news stories that you may have missed, with a little added context provided by me, but provided by you. The 8 stories that we're giving you today are essentially teed up by you. You vetted those as conversational. We crafted them into the newscast here. We'll explain the vetting process in just a bit after the headlines are done, and then bring you some fun things for today that you'll want to stay tuned for the end and get to all that stuff. Our website, this is theconversationproject.com. More information about the full offerings of the Conversation Project, and you can email us anytime you feel like it at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. It's simple, it's easy, it's quick. Now, 8 stories on the ticket for today. Of course, vetted by you, created by me, and let's get into it for Thursday, the 4th of January, 2024. And first story up, and there are no particular order. This is the order they ended up in when we in the crafted, and we'll tell you which story was number one because those leaps and bounds when we get to it. But let's start off with this story at the top spot for our listing: names of Jeffrey Epstein associates and others unsealed in lawsuit documents. I pulled yesterday the first articles I had that had the Epstein documents officially unsealed. I did it assuming there would be some sort of update that will tell us what's going on. As you know, they do all those things to be dramatic in the news coverage. I was watching the news live when they actually said they released it, and they usually have somebody sitting there. Fox usually have this guy when they have these big bills in Congress. This guy who's a speed reader would just basically flip pages and read the bill, and while someone else is actually skimming it for actual stuff. It was interesting to see. What we know is what we already knew. Jeffrey Epstein hung out with Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Prince Andrew. There are about 250 or so pages to be released, and I think 50 were released at this point in time. These are essentially depositions and other things from things that were sealed to protect the document, protect the innocence of some people who needed to be protected in some things. In fact, there's a court case right now to actually keep more of these things sealed for a little bit longer for certain people. What we'll see coming forward is what we'll see coming forward. Right now, it was kind of a and we'll get back to that again later on in this recording, this broadcast for today. Let's go to story number 2, which has a bit more oomph, but more or less the same sort of power. Nigel Lythgoe faces 2 more sexual assault accusations amid Paula Abdul lawsuit. He's the producer of American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, other shows along those lines, and 2 more anonymous plaintiffs have come up with lawsuits saying that from the All American Girl show that he produced, saying sexual assault, sexual misconduct, harassment, negligence, inflicting emotional distress. This one we'll see play out, I guess, in court as well, as this one plays out just like Paula Abdul comes through. The biggest thing about Paula Abdul's is it's 20 years old. These, I don't know when All American Girl even ran, to be honest, so these are fairly old as well. Keep up with the legal documents and legal cases. You'll see this one pop up again. Let's move on to the story we have next. Rapper Iggy Azalea is announcing that she is no longer going to finish her album. Now, is she dropping away from the scene? Don't know, but her first album she was working on, and she's seeing, she doesn't seem into it, citing lack of inspiration and desire to focus on other creative projects. Other things are getting in the way. Other things are popping, shiny objects are popping in there. So this album's not going to be finished, at least not now. Expressing her apologies to fans have emphasized that the importance of not letting herself down, because it's all about you in reality, except when it's all about us because we want the stuff. If you're a big fan of hers, this may be a disappointment, but we'll see what happens if she actually shifts her career priorities, or if she'll come back and finish this or release this as special singles or something going forward. Let's go on to the story at the 4 spot for this morning. Speaking of music, Destiny Child reunion, all 5 members posed together for the first time ever. A photo from some backstage grouping inside of the Eras tour, not the Eras tour, Beyonce's tour, had the markings of what was the first time all 5 members of Destiny's Child been together. Now, remember, Destiny's Child began as a quartet. 2 folks got fired. They added a person, and now they're a trio. And so, much like New Edition, there's like 800 folks that can run around in an actual legitimate different sort of scenario when you bring them all together. So Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, Michelle Williams, Latoya Luckett, and Latavia Robertson posed for a picture together, though Michelle Williams is like she was kind of bored and ready to go home, all at one time. Now, people have speculated that maybe there's a big old single coming up. Maybe they'll all do Survivor together or something like that. Nah, that's not happening. It just happened to all be together. It was Beyonce's concert. They were living in Beyonce's world, and they got a chance to be a part of it and get a little hype on this one for one night only. Let's move on to the story that's number 5 for the day. May not seem all that big to you, but pickleball is literally taking over this nation. If it's not, MAGA stuff or Biden, ruining things, it's pickleball. Pickleball is it's popular, it's loud, it's taking over tennis courts. People are complaining about it, and Drake and Michael B. Joyner are jumping into the fray as they've joined forces to become co-owners of a new pickleball team. Yes, you can own pickleball teams. The Brooklyn Aces in Major League Pickleball, Drake and Michael B. Jordan are now owners of a pickleball team. So if you're following the pickleball scene and you're looking for a team to follow, especially if you're looking for famous owners to follow it, then you have Drake and Michael B. Jordan. If you don't understand what pickleball is, trust me, it's going to come to you sometime and you'll be kind of shocked when it gets there. Pickleball is pretty much everywhere. The old folks are playing it all over the place, and it's very, very loud. That's all, I guess, all the warning I can give you from this point here. Let's move on to the story that's our 6th story for today. Stephen Yeun no longer involved with Marvel's Thunderbolts. Stephen Yeun is no longer involved with the project. That's Thunderbolts from Marvel Films. The development was confirmed. This development was confirmed by Variety, and the development of the actual story came about from the writer's strike. Essentially, when the writer's strike popped up, some people had to put their things on hold. Writers and actors strikes. Some people put their projects on hold, and that's what's happened. Timing. Other things were sort of in the kitty, and now that those other things are working, the production schedule for Thunderbolts, where he was going to play Sentry, versus the other things he had lined up, aren't working. He dropped out of the Marvel show because it's not right in production yet, so that one's not going forward. He apologized to fans. He's really thrilled about playing this very enigmatic character, one of the bigger characters, I'll say stronger characters in the Marvel universe, the Marvel actual comic universe, but a bit misunderstood and hard to sort of portray in just the weirdness of he is. He's not going to get to put that into digital film. We'll see who's going to do that going forward. Maybe some things will change and he'll pop up. We'll see. Lil Nas X reacts to Dave Chappelle's Dreamer skit, says he divorced the devil. Lil Nas X responded to the humorously to Dave Chappelle's skit that referenced Nas X Montero's music video. In the skit, Chappelle imagined a young Nas X describing his future plans as a teacher, including the infamous scene of going to Satan to lap dance for him in hell. Nas' reaction was lighthearted, indicated that he found the joke amusing, not offensive, but he also is sticking by his new sort of phase in life. He's gone to what is essentially being called his Christian rap phase. He's basically seen the light, literally, and is trying to be on the up and up, for lack of better terms, and he's going to stick to it. He's trying to stick to that, and he's saying that's going on. A lot of people on that side of the rap game, the Christian game, are standing up for Lil Nas X, saying, no, he seems to be legitimate. It's not so much a ploy, because why would you go from what he was to this thing right here? On a side note, we actually put out a TikTok last night on Madison Cawthorn, because we just were so bored with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. We figured it wasn't worth it, because Cawthorn is also a butt of one of Chappelle's jokes, a literal butt of Chappelle's joke, and he loved it. He laughed it up. He's happy to be in the joke. He says Chappelle's one of his favorite comedians and happy to be a part of the show. In fact, an actual picture of him is in the credits of the show because he went to prior shows in the past. So Dave Chappelle getting some flack for what he's saying in the new program, which is, of course, the Dreamer, but also getting love from the people that he targets, which seems to be the thing that happens when he targets people. And finally, this was the actual number 1 story by leaps and bounds in your engagement. We'll explain engagement literally the moment we get to the teaser story. But this is the update to the story in the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl flasher, we talked about that ESPN had to apologize for because they showed the clip of Bourbon Street and somebody happened to be flashing some at the time. This flasher has been offered a lucrative deal from an adult site. Now, her talents, if you will, are going to be up for sale. She's being offered a 6-figure deal for an adult website if she can do a 1-hour live webcam for the website. That's the deal. That's going on. We're not sure if this thing's going to actually come to fruition, but the fact that it's brought up all this attention brings up a bunch of attention. And we'll have more attention along these lines coming up in the feeds today, so make sure you're looking for stories that are happening there. But the lady who got caught flashing, because that's what she's doing on ESPN, because that's what we do when you're in New Orleans, show Bourbon Street, is now being offered big money to do it again, this time on purpose, on camera, people paying for it. So if you were kind of not so happy with that, the apologies, errors, and the omission sections for you today, because we have that story for you. Now, what we also have are 3 stories that we didn't get into, because these are 3 stories I actually like, 3 sports stories that were really, really interesting, but I couldn't fit those in with some other stuff. So we actually put in, I believe, some lesser stories for 2 of these stories, but I wanted to get some hype on these 3 stories. Look for these headlines in our feeds and you can go through them yourself or search for them yourself. One is a teen's promising swimming career in limbo after he is accused of slapping teammate on the backside. You can kind of read into where this thing is going. A second one, Olympic cyclist Melissa Hoskins run down by and killed by car reportedly driven by her Olympic cyclist husband. You can kind of understand where that one's going. And the final one, Iowa sensation Caitlin Clark drains winner from logo to cap 40-point night. She had an amazing game the other night, hitting 40 points on the night and essentially breaking records on that night, meaning that night. Big sports stories, big more or less amateur stories, but you can get into those if you want to as well. Actually ties in very well with our teaser story for this morning. Going on to that, this is where we explain the feeds and how we get stories to you every single morning as we record this, and all day long literally as we do these things. Our feeds are simply as our links on Facebook and Twitter, or X. Facebook.com/this is a conversation project, and Twitter.com/th_conversation, X.com/th_conversation. What we do is we post news stories about every 50 minutes or so. Now, this is kind of a busy season, so sometimes we skip a beat or get a little off track, whatever. So we do what we can to get a news story every 50 minutes, and that way we get over 30 stories in a day. For that gives us a chance to do a top 15 to pull from, 15 top stories of a day, and then we'll take 8 of those stories on Tuesday through Thursday to present to you here. On Monday, since we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a little bit of Monday, we'll take the top 30 stories of the weekend and we'll pull 10 of those to give to you. So it's a bit longer, a bit more to get into, and the stories are usually more diverse, hopefully better because there's more to choose from going there. We can talk about this story tomorrow if you deem this worthy in the top 15 and it doesn't get blown out by something else larger. The headline reads, Britney Spears' team is trying to get her excited about music as she says she'll never return. She says she's never returned. She's saying she's kind of bored with it. She's feeling uninspired by music these days, and she's not recording or working with anyone right now. Her last actual project, I believe, was the Elton John collaboration, which, you know, after 2 or 3 of those remixes, people kind of got tired of it, and they weren't really happy with her Hold Me Closer version, or Tiny Dancer sort of remix of that one. And right now, she's not doing anything. She says she's done. We'll see if it changes, because her people kind of need her to do stuff so they can keep being paid for being her people. You want to talk about this one in deeper detail, go deeper into the story, go to our feeds, engage in this story. The higher score of engagement, literally liking it, loving it, hating it, sharing it, the more you engage in the story, the better chance we have of talking about it in the next iteration. Let's talk about our sponsor we're going to spotlight this morning. That happens to be Ground News. Ground News is getting a lot of love from a lot of creators these days who do news stuff, because it is the best source for news out there, because it's the source for all the news. And we, as your supplemental go-to source, want you to check out Ground News, because we do our best to pull stories from different perspectives, different headlines, different links, so you can get more or less the same story with hopefully the bulk of the actual details in there. Now, you go from a place like, if you look at the same story covered by both MSNBC and Fox News, for example, they will cover it in totally different bents and put the spotlight or the ire on the different people. Ground News will help you figure out who's covering what, why they may be covering it, and how to get more coverage of the other side, or get more coverage of your side if you're missing it. Literally, you can go through and see the stories that are live, see stories going on, see how many outlets that are more or less red, more or less white, more or less independent are being covered by this, what stories are being covered exclusively by one side or the other, and what stories are sort of popping in there that aren't getting a lot of real coverage at the moment that may be blowing up, and you can see how the coverage changes over time. Ground News will give you this all in the power of your hands, and you can check it all day long, all the time, for what you have going on. We have an affiliate link for this one. So if you go to this is a conversationproject.com/ground news, this is a conversationproject.com/GROUNDNEWS ground news, you can get in on the action. If you if you get the link in, subscribe to it, and get it installed into your phone, we get a slight commission to keep our lights on going forward. And it costs you nothing extra, and it keeps us going. So check it out and do what we do every day as we go through Ground News as one of our aggregating sites to figure out what we're talking about. Check out Ground News and understand who's covering what stories and why some are getting more coverage on one side than the other. Right now, we're going to take a moment to break and talk about us, because we should talk about yourself more often. You deserve it, and we're going to deserve it. We deserve it right now. We need your help. We need your assistance. We need you to be a part of the family at the Conversation Project. Go to our home online at thisisaconversationproject.com, and you can see more about us, the full details. One thing I've learned over doing this thing, because there were points of how this thing's supposed to work, is that if I do the calls to action properly, you'll go figure it out and learn what's going on. So less of me trying to explain it to you in this recording here, and more of you checking out on the back end and seeing what's going on. Go to the website and find out more about the feeds, because the link's there. Find out more about the mission, because it's there. Find out replays in audio and video form, and just links to the stories if you missed something. Go to our other places. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Facebook, all those places. The links to those are there. We have other links to more of our sponsors if you want to see more folks to help us support us. And of course, you can go to our partnerships page, because if you deem us worthy of being partners of helping us out, you can directly help directly help us get things going on. The things we always say that are most important is the free stuff. Go to Facebook and Twitter and the feeds and engage in the stories. Give us the words to put into my mouth every single day. And go to the email machine, your email machine, and email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. That way you can give us comments and things going on in more or less real time, as far as emails go, and it costs you nothing. You want to get more in depth on what we got going on, sure, be a partner and join that way, but you can simply just go to your email machine and do what you do about the feeds to give us the stories to talk about every single day. Business is done. It is time for the fun stuff. Fun stuff happens every single weekday morning. We always get fun stuff with birthdays. We always begin with birthdays because birthdays are the funnest, the fun stuff. Birthdays for today, or we'll say birthday for today. We're kicking it off with Dave Foley, who is 60 years old on the day. Dave, who played Dave in News Radio, and of course, won the Kids in the Hall. Now, January 4th had a good listing of people to choose for birthdays, and many of them were uninspiring. Dave Foley picked out pretty well, but everybody else kind of So January 4th in the future, you need to do much better 9 months prior so get more pretty cool, famous January 4th birthdays. That's just it's not going to do me any good anytime soon, but just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. On this day, in 1943, the day in 1493, Columbus left the New World ending his first journey to the New World. Of course, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, sticking around for a few months and then leaving on this day, January the 4th, to head back to Spain to report on what he had found. So the big journey that was the Columbus Day, whatchamacallit, I guess it happened in October. I guess that's the day. That's why we posted on that way. This first trip ended essentially here as he made his way back to Spain from what he called but eventually got called America. What he thought was the New World, what he thought was Asia, at least what they thought it was. And the celebration for today is Spaghetti Day. Spaghetti is a word I will never learn how to spell, but is on this day. Your opportunity to pick your sauce, add it to the long, thin, cylindrical pasta of Italian and Sicilian origin. We're talking about spaghetti, not linguine, not any other shells. No, not the elbows. Today is all about the spaghetti. You can get thin if you want to. You can get, angel hair if you want to, but it's got to be the round one, not the flat ones, not the wavy ones, not the short ones. It is spaghetti. Usually made from semolina flour, this pasta has been a worldwide favorite for ages and loved by millions. And even though its origins are Italian, basically everybody has a pasta dish. Everybody claims spaghetti. Everybody has a way they do it. That's just their way. Their mama makes spaghetti the best way. It always is. Although my spaghetti is kind of awesome. I'm just going to say that. And today's poll question, we talked about earlier the Epstein list, or part of the Epstein list being released last night, and just sort of going, I guess. Now, we are well into the early stages of names being released, so we'll see how this thing actually plays out going forward. But will the release of the list, the short part and just in general, end up being a bust? Will people really get anything out of this one, or will this be something that was really overhyped and did not live up to that hype, such as a Home Alone 3? Go to our website and look for the Conversations daily poll question. It's at daily poll 2024-04-0104. Read that very poorly, but you can check out the poll question and vote today. It's a yay or nay, yes or no. Is the release of the list going to be a bust overall? Take that out, and we'll talk more about the release the information and use this for helping us determine further things going forward. That's all I got. That's it. We're done for the day. It's Thursday, January the 4th, 2024, as I wrap up this recording. I said 2023 a few times. I'm still doing that. It's, we may not write as many checks, but we still sort of confuse the years going forward. And signing dates as well. Check us out on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and check us out on the Instagram and on TikTok, where we have the videos. We do the short hot takes all day long. You can check out what we're thinking about, things that may not make it here because the engagement numbers don't make it, but things that kind of pull my attention in the range, things that are trending, things that sort of make sense. Go to our website. Follow our feeds, as I said again. Email us at the conversation inbox, gmail.com, and consider partnering up with us if you think we're good enough. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the grand things you are here to do on the planet throughout 2024 and beyond. And join us tomorrow for a Friday edition of This Whole Thing, Things You Might Not Have Heard.